Hello, everyone. This is Ted Check, Public Relations Manager for the International Foundation for Protection Officers. I'm here with Sandy Davies. She is the CEO of the IFPO. Also, Dr. Glenn Kitteringham and Kevin Palacios of IFPO Hispanoamerica. Did I say that somewhat, más o menos?
You did it well.
Muy bien? Okay, excellent. So we're here today because we want to talk about a project that the IFPO has been working on for quite some time called the Security Officer Competency Model. And I feel pretty certain that a lot of you are not familiar with what that is. So that's why we're gathered here today. And Kevin, if you could please tell us what is the Security Officer Competency Model, and what impact do you hope, does the IFPO hope that will have on the security industry?
Absolutely. Let me share the slide here. So as you know, well, the IFPO is committed to the support and professional development of all protection officers. So we basically do three activities: research, certifications, and membership. So in order to gather best practices, we do original research and we network with academia. And this in turn becomes different products like these competency models, the different job descriptions, educational materials, as well as also the body of knowledge that we use in order to certify professionals. So yeah, in this case, we are pretty much working very hard. We've been doing it for many years on researching the industry, getting to know exactly what security officers are supposed to do, what are their competencies, what is the role. And well, all of that is now coming to a specific, I'll say, a summarized guideline. So that is basically a security officer competency model. That's what we're working right now.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense, because we've heard in the United States and actually around the world, there are different ideas about what a security officer or security guard is, what they can do, what level of training they should have. It seems like it's kind of all over the map. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like that this is we're going to try to get a handle on what the security officer, the security guard, should be competent in, so that we can then suggest, as you said, it's a guideline. We can suggest that to various entities. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in here for a second.
Glenn.
Yeah, so I mean, and the foundation for all of this is actually when I did my doctoral thesis back between 2015 and 2017, and I looked at security officer training. And one of the byproducts of what that was there is no standard definition of what a security officer does.
Right.
And it's all over the map. And I mean, I looked at what the academic community believes that what a security officer engages in, and I looked at what governments believe that they engage in, and then I looked at what the industry itself, the security industry itself, thinks that they engage in, and there was a massive inconsistency. It was all over the place. And so what came out of that was somewhat of an attempt to create a consistent, for lack of a better term, I guess, a job description, so to speak, of the foundational duties that all security officers engage in, whether they're working at a construction site guarding a boneyard or a hole in the ground, or working at a nuclear power plant. And from that, that was the foundation for the research that IFPO commissioned in 2020 and 2021, where we went out to thousands and thousands of security officers in 9 different countries. And we ended up getting a response back from close to 11,000 of them. And then we followed that up with 42 face-to-face interviews. And that's the foundation where we are now, where we're developing this competency model. And I will say that this model is also founded or based upon the ASIS International Enterprise Security Competency Model. But the reality is that the ASIS document starts with what security managers do, and this obviously has a lot of ramifications, because it's not only are we concerned about what is a standard job that officers engage in, but what is the training in order for them to do their jobs, but also from a career planning perspective. And ultimately, and I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but ultimately what we hope, one of the byproducts that we see coming out of this is to help security officers engage in both training and career planning.
Yeah, and that's important because we know that there are more security officers. The number has risen. I don't know if it's over the past few decades or years. I'm not sure what the timeline is exactly, but there are more security officers year after year, and the number of law enforcement officers is dropping. And we're also seeing another trend that people are actually choosing security as a profession, getting in at the ground level and then working their way up through things such as the IFPO's certifications and other things. So they're actually choosing that as a career.
Yes, and I mean, I would say probably 10 years ago there was a crossover where globally, there became more security officers than police officers globally.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, it's only going to continue to increase. And again, we just felt it was time that, I guess IFPO, and Sandy, feel free to jump in here, but if one of the things that IFPO as an international organization could make its mark, so to speak, beyond what it's already been doing for the last 30 plus years in standardizing what security officers engage in the way of tasks.
Well, if I could just jump in for a second, some of you might be questioning, well, where does this go? We're going to all this effort to collect our research, and we're working with our existing knowledge of what officers need to know and how that role is changing over the last few decades. But this is all done in conjunction. We're working with a consultant that works with the Department of Labor. And I just want to explain that competencies are created by champions of each industry. So it's not just a security officer competency model. There is competency models for a whole variety of skill sets or professions. So this is the first attempt at submitting or producing a competency model that aligns with security officers. And once we work with a select group of subject matter experts, then what we do is collectively go through each tier of that competency model and submit it to the Department of Labor. And inevitably, we are hopeful that it will become published. And then, for lack of a better term, it will become the national guideline, which will greatly impact the end users, the employers, but more importantly, for the security officers. I believe that our communities now just don't have an understanding that security officers are the first responders, and their roles and responsibilities are rapidly changing. So we're delighted as an organization to have been honored the title of the champion of the competency model development. So I think it's important that everybody realizes that this is not just for the security industry. This is a normal practice that is evolves in all of the different industries.
Okay.
I
Got it.
also
Yeah,
think-
because we hear a lot about unlicensed security officers. That's I've seen that headline. I can't tell you how many times. An unlicensed security officer did this, did that. So with this, would it contribute to licensing everybody? We would kind of have a guideline and be able to license people?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, this would be strictly voluntary. I mean, again, this is a guideline. This is not a standard in any way, shape, or form. But what we want to do is help light the way, so to speak, and identify what the core tasks of security officers are. And it's up to organizations to embrace that. And I just also want to say, though, that this is not just IFPO. I mean, we have reached out to a number of subject matter experts, not only within the United States, but in Canada the UK and in Central America, and we are collectively working on this. So in effect, yes, we are working with the the United States Department of Labor, but we're obviously hopeful that this would have ramifications beyond just the US labor market as it pertains to security officers as well. And and also, it is a multi-step process. And so, I mean, we're just halfway through, or not even halfway through this process right now. We're engaging with the security or the subject matter experts. But the next step after that is to get it out into the larger security community and have people comment on it as well. Because again, I just want to reiterate, this is not just IFPO deciding unilaterally that this is just something that they've decided on their own, that this is what security officers engage in. There is a robust process, created by the Department of Labor to make sure that people, organizations, trainers, educational institutions, other security organizations, industry as a whole, and individuals can comment upon this proposed model.
Okay. Kevin, maybe you could tell us a little. I know you and your folks did a lot of work pertaining to the research project. Am I right? And how you took the information from that and applied it to the security officer competency model.
I'll say this model is pretty much the result of almost 38 years of work at IFPO. All the different authors, sponsors, instructors from IFPO from all over the world. We have chipped in with little bits of knowledge, and we have managed to gather really a big general idea of basically what every security officer needs to know. Now, what we had to do, of course, is take all that body of knowledge through a scientific, academic research process. And that's what we did a couple of years ago. And yes, indeed, having this already revised and again, technically, academically approved, was another step for where we are right now, which is this process of creating a guideline. When this guideline comes out, pretty much everyone will have a place to look for what is specifically means to be a security officer. What are the duties? What are the activities, tasks, competencies, and this will certainly bring a lot of improvement, I'll say, for the whole industry, and especially it will recognize the value of the vital services that security officers provide.
That's fantastic. And is there do we have a timeline as far as when the steps will be completed? Because I think there are it's a 6-step competency model process. So do we know when it will all be completed? Approximately?
Well, Sandy, feel free, go ahead.
Well, there's still a lot of work to be completed.
Mm-hmm.
We are sticking to a pretty stringent schedule. We are hopeful by the end of the summer to submit something directly to the Department of Labor. Having not had a lot of experience with this in the past, I really am speculating to say that I'm hopeful by the end of the year. And Glenn, maybe with your experience with the other models that you've worked on, you might be able to bring a little bit more light to that. Like I said, because this is a really new ground that we're exploring. I don't have an exact date, but that is my proposed or hope. I'm hopeful that we'll have this wrapped up by the end of 2022.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, we are in a good position, to be perfectly honest. We've done a lot of work. I mean, it's not like we just started this project, when we started putting our subject matter expert group together, as I indicated, the foundation for this model actually started probably in 2015. So that was 7 years ago. And as I said, a lot of research has gone into this. And then the IFPO research, that took more than a year. I mean, we've gotten a lot of great feedback from Coffee Consulting that we're in a good position. We are moving along. We're meeting weekly with a group of subject matter experts. We're going through each of the tasks of which, you know, we'll be discussing that at a later date, you know, that we can get out to the community or to the security industry as a whole. So we definitely plan on submitting here, I would say, by the end of the summer. But then again, you know, the other steps do involve feedback from the industry as a whole. And so I would say once we submit this to the Department of Labor, to a certain extent, it's going to be out of our hands as to, you know, as to the timeline, but they've also got deadlines themselves. So I just to echo, I agree with Sandy that I'm naively optimistic that we're going to have this done by the end of 2022.
Right. But I think we're anxious to keep people informed and, you know, let us, you know, provide updates to how we're progressing.
Right.
You know, good or bad. We're glad to share that with our members and graduates. And I guess, you know, to be continued, really.
Right. So this is the first of several installments that we'll be talking about, you know, concerning the security officer competency model. So yeah, I want to thank all of you for being here today to talk about this, and I think it's a great thing, because I think a lot of people wondered, well, you had that research project, what did you do with it? And so this is the answer to that. So I appreciate it, and I think a lot of other people will as well. So Sandy, Kevin, and Glenn, thank you very much for being here, and thank all of you for watching this, and stay tuned. We'll talk to you soon.
I just might want to add real quick that if anybody would like to make comments or reach out to us, I welcome you to email me, and my email address is Sandy Davies, SandiDavies @ifpo.org, or give our office a call.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.